Hello and welcome to another Y-PAC check-in. We've moved around a little bit. Last time we talked to Ken Wilkinson from Yakima Parks, and today we've got Rob Peterson, the Yakima Airport Director. Thanks for joining me today, Rob.
Thank you for your time.
Now, today I'd like to talk about some of the things that are going on at the airport. The airport operations have been affected by COVID-19. So can you talk just a little bit about some of the impacts that have affected the Yakima community via the airport over the last few weeks?
Yeah, ultimately, we've witnessed a decrease in air service. That's probably the number one that people see within the community. We went from 3 to 4 flights a day down to 1 flight a day. And that's because a lot of passengers are heeding to the governor's restrictions throughout the United States. Various states have different restrictions going on, whether there might be a travel ban or maybe there's a restriction where you got to self-quarantine when you get on the ground. But ultimately, some of those restrictions are starting to lift, which is good. We are seeing a positive incline or increase in passenger ridership out of the Yakima Airport. Before, we were very low on our passenger ridership. We were only seeing about 5 people per aircraft during the April timeframe. And now we're starting to see 40 to 50 people on the aircraft flying out of the Yakima Airport and then arriving too. So that's good news that we are starting to see a lot of the passenger restrictions or the restrictions throughout the United States begin to lift and go to the various different phases to allow passengers to travel on. With that said, there's been a lot of changes in the travel industry as far as passenger ridership goes. One being obviously there's various increased measures for sanitization. Airlines throughout the nation have increased how they sanitize the aircraft, typically twice a day, whereas before it was a lower frequency. So the aircraft are more cleaner than they've ever been before. We also have various implementations for increasing sanitization at the terminal building where you traverse the area. Some of those may be increased hand sanitization. We've also had our crews going around and sanitizing the entire terminal building on a more frequent matter per day. We also have increased the amount of opportunity for any type of masks that passengers need to be worn because airlines want to make sure you're safe when you travel. So do they want your staff. So it's important that you all bring your masks as you fly out on the airlines. If you don't have a mask, the Yakima Airport recently received about 12,500 cloth masks that are washable. They come in packs of 5, and we've implemented 3 dispenser locations for the masks, including adjacent to hand sanitization. So we want to make sure that you can clean your hands as well as wear your masks on the flight. Obviously, Governor Inslee has instituted a all-state mask requirement when you're in close proximity inside of buildings for people and passengers. So we want to make sure you can grab a mask when you enter the terminal building and when you fly out on your destination. And those that want to arrive in the Yakima Airport, our visitors coming in to visit our community, want to make sure they also have a mask as well. So a lot of the rental car companies will be handing out masks in case you do not have yours as you enter the state of Washington. So there's a lot of increased measures to make sure you're safe. For those residents that are flying out, there's another additional measure. We've implemented a no-touch process for our parking meters and the vehicle parking stations. Obviously, when you come in and park your vehicle and you're parking in the long term, you're going to go for 4 or 5 days for your vacation or maybe business trip. We have terminated or suspended the prepay station machines, whereas all you got to do is you got to remember your number, your stall number, whether it be 253, how many days you're going to be flying out. You go up to the prepay station and they actually have numbers where you call and then you pay over the phone. So it's all touchless. That way you can pay your vehicles safe here at the terminal building as you fly out on your vacation or your actual business trip. So a lot of increased measures to make sure the community is safe. It is safe to travel. Heeding, obviously, there were recommendations based off the CDC and local governors' restrictions throughout the United States. Again, please check with your location that you're flying into. Some states require some quarantine days, like 14 days of quarantine. Other states don't have that restriction. So please definitely check with the state you're flying to before you actually book your flight.
So you gave a lot of information there, Rob. If there's one thing you would tell somebody that's going to book a flight today, what would you tell them?
Well, ultimately, it's safe to fly. I mean, we have a lot of increased measures, what the airlines are doing for sanitization for their aircraft. We are providing free masks to all passengers that fly in and fly out, as well as increased hand sanitization locations for passengers that are arriving or departing the terminal building. So it is safe to fly. Definitely recommend you checking with your local doctor in case you have any questions if you were able to fly or not able to fly.
Now, do you see more flights as things change and more things open up? Do you see more flights coming back to Yakima, obviously, right?
Yeah, ultimately, airlines nationwide are starting to increase their frequency. So they actually did a dramatic reduction in airline service throughout the whole United States and their whole system. This is pretty much every airline out there. But as the phases continue to increase throughout the United States in certain areas, they lift those restrictions. Now, a lot of those airlines are already implementing a summer schedule. So they've actually seen hundreds or if not thousands of aircraft flights schedules, and in other words, that you can book your airline ticket on, increase throughout the United States in the air transportation system. So airlines are starting to recognize the need for people to get out, have a vacation after this long restriction. Again, they've increased their safety measures. They want to make sure you're safe, but also want to make sure you have that flexibility on your travel to ensure that you can get from point A to point B as efficiently as possible.
Wonderful. Now let's talk about some of the good things that are happening at the airport. There's some construction planned coming up. Can you talk about those plans?
Yeah, ultimately, we have a variety of different positive items going on at the airport. Actually, three prominent construction projects that you're probably going to see here if you do drive down Washington in your local community. So we have on the western portion of the airport, we have brand new 6T hangars. Those T hangars are actual personal garages for aircraft that actually are based here. The more aircraft we have, the more activity we have here, more fuel sales, more economic development for the local valley. So we're looking to get those active within the next few months. This is actually a private development out of McCormick Air Center. They're a main fixed-based operator that provides those mechanical services and storage area for those aircraft. So it's good to add more hangars because the airport has definitely needed additional hangar space.
And those are the buildings that are right at the end of not at the end of Washington, right around, I want to
They're
say,
about
36th
40th.
in
Yeah,
Washington.
36th and 40th of Washington. They're adjacent to Water Fire there, the restaurant. If you were actually sitting out on a patio, now that we can actually do that under the
Right.
1.5 phase restrictions, we can actually see the T hangars. They're white buildings inside the security fence at the airport. So again, it's good. You know, you drive your car, you like to park it in the garage. Same scenario with the actual aircraft. You want to make sure it's ready to go when you hop in it, and out you go. The
Now,
second project,
yeah,
probably
speak about that. A very large project coming up, right?
very large project, so probably the most important one that's going to impact the local community. As states throughout the United States, such as Washington, you know, they have road improvement projects to make sure your vehicle is safe operating on, let's say, a highway. So we are actually doing the same thing on our main primary runway. Our main primary runway was milled and overlaid in 2010, brand new asphalt, brand new markings, and it's about 10 years since this has been maintenance. So obviously we've been putting down paint to make sure the aircraft can see the specific markings. We replaced airfield guidance signs back in 2016. Now it's time to actually take a look at the asphalt, a closer look to make sure that we can maintain it accordingly. So August 24th to the 29th, runway 927, which is the airport's main primary runway for commercial service aircraft and larger corporate jets, will be shut down, unfortunately, because we need to allow those crews to get on the surface and do some crack sealing, some fog sealing, repair the markings so pilots can see where they're going when they land on the ground, as well as we were replacing the entire runway edge light system with high-intensity runway edge lights that are LED. These are really state-of-the-art. They're starting to roll these out they're starting to roll these out throughout the United States, and they're very efficient too. So obviously that would lower the costs operating at the airport based off of going incandescent to high LEDs. So unfortunately, this closes our main primary runway for about 6 days, and it will impact commercial air service. We've been working with the local airlines such as FedEx, UPS, Alaska Airlines, and a few of our casino charters, Swift Air and Sun Country, to make sure about a year and a half ago they were notified of this project. So that way we can make sure that nobody's planning for any type of increased frequency for airline service, or let's say you book your airline ticket for your vacation and then they have to cancel it. So that was pre-canceled before actually loaded in the system, which is good. So that way we didn't interrupt too much of your vacation or travel opportunities. So there's pros and cons to each what's going on right now. I mean, obviously the COVID-19 pandemic has hit the travel industry dramatically. But with that said, we're taking advantage of this opportunity to make sure that we have reduced airline service, least impact on our passengers. Typically, we see a spike in increased passenger activity here this fall into winter. Inclement weather hits the pass very well. Inclement weather hits the pass accordingly, and so the pass may close, as well as those holidays that pop up during the winter season. So we picked a prime opportune moment to make sure that we had minimal impact on our passenger activity here. So we appreciate the understanding as we maintain facilities and adhere to FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, safety standards while we do this construction project.
Now, specific dates, did you give specific dates for that? 6
I
specific
did.
dates, right?
Yep. Construction will start August 24th at 8 a.m. And that's when we will close the primary runway to any type of aircraft operation. So I think Alaska Airlines has a 5 a.m. departure out that day. And then the plane does not come back until I believe that following Sunday evening. Although our runway will be closed August 24th through August 29th, which is Saturday at 8 p.m. So we'll reopen it, make sure the aircraft are safe to operate at the airport, pick up any loose items on the runway, and then continue on with their air service and FedEx UPS service. So that's the good news. Obviously, you need to maintain your infrastructure. A mile and a half of a runway will get you the world. A mile and a half of road will get you about a mile and a half down the road, and that's it. So we want to make sure we maintain the most valuable asset at this airport, which is your primary runway, so aircraft can land safely and depart safely out of the valley.
Wonderful. Now let's talk about, there are several ways people can get information about the airport, when flights are, about some of this construction information. I am going to share on the screen. Let's tell people where they can find information about the airport.
Sure, absolutely. So we have a convenient website. It's called flykm.com. And as you can see, it's loaded there. And it's recently been rebranded where we have a new logo to promote the future growth of our aviation industry, as well as people living within the valley, air service too. More people fly out, the more air service we're going to get. So definitely choose your local airport first. But your travel information right there under traveler info, typically you'll highlight all the additional information that you need. About obviously gives you a little bit of details about the airport, and then under aviation is specifically for mainly general aviation or corporate activities. And then off to the right you have that location of contact information, and if you do want to book a flight, it's off on the very far right upper hand corner. It's important that you obviously take note to Alaska Airlines schedule. During the pandemic, they are changing the flight schedules. So as you can see right there, the airline's arrivals and departures, we only have one flight arriving and one flight departing to the Yakima Airport. The schedule does indicate a possible increase in frequency of flights this coming August, but that has yet to be confirmed with Alaska Airlines. Again, the airlines are very fluid. The more people that want to fly out, the more people they're going to add flights and back to our frequency to get back to some type of normalcy of 3 to 4 flights a day, if not more, if we start seeing a lot of passengers fly out. One of the things is we want to make sure that you're flexible with your travel. A lot of airlines during the pandemic are actually being flexible with your booking your airline ticket. So definitely go to their website specifically to find out what those restrictions are. Typically, they may allow you to do some type of waive fee or change fee for free, knowing that, we do understand that travel hiccups do happen, or possibly you do come down with a cold and you don't want to travel. They're typically understanding of that scenario. So definitely go to their website, check out their restrictions or their ability to work with you on your future travel, because they want you to be safe regardless. So they want their crews to be safe. They want you and other passengers to be safe. And that's the whole name of the game.
Now, Rob, you also have a Facebook page. I'm going to click over to that. Can you tell people a little bit about your Facebook page?
Yep. So we have a Facebook page, again, flywykm.com. And ultimately, there's our new logo. We are promoting positive experiences here at the airport. There's a primary example right there. The airport runway is closed for 1 week. There's that notification on the city's website for the closure of the construction project. But typically here, we want to give you additional information that might be outside our flywykm.com website. So increased sanitization, any type of flight cancellations that we can convey from the airline to this page, we typically do as much as possible, but obviously it's always recommended you contact the airline directly because they have the most up-to-date information.
Now, these aren't the only projects that are going on at the airport. You have another very important project going on. Can you discuss that a little bit?
Yes, we do, absolutely. So we are actually acquiring a brand new firefighting rig here at the airport. It's going to be stationed at Station 94. It's an Oshkosh Striker, and this piece of vehicle is specific to responding to any type of aircraft accident and incident at the airport within 3 minutes. This is a specific vehicle that has specific auxiliary equipment, as well as the appropriate PPE for the firefighter to operate at the airport. This vehicle holds about 1,500 gallons of water and specific amounts of gallons of chemical to put any type of gas fires or jet fires, jet fuel fires on the airport and respond to any other accidents or incidents on the airport property. So we were excited to receive that. The last time we received that was back in 2005 when we received another Oshkosh Striker type vehicle. That vehicle will be staged into the secondary vehicle where the primary vehicle will be replaced. And then we will surplus an older fire rig, which is a 1986 T1500 rig, to another airport in need. So we want to make sure other airports are safe and secure as they operate various safety standards. So we really are excited about this project. This project was funded under at the Federal Aviation Administration grant program. It's called the Airport Improvement Program. So it's a enterprise fund that essentially is gathered on the local taxes when you purchase an airline ticket that's remitted to the federal government and then distributed to specific commercial air service at airports throughout the nation to replace this aging infrastructure. So this vehicle is about $786,000. And with that, with all the auxiliary equipment below that to help the firefighter combat any type of fire that they may respond or respond to any medicals at the airport. There's probably another $210,000 of auxiliary equipment and PP that's associated with that truck. So we're pretty close to almost $900 to $1 million for the total project. And again, we do that typically every 15 years to make sure this vehicle is ready to respond at any moment any aircraft lands at the airport.
Wonderful. Now, you mentioned this. This is not general fund money that's coming out of the city budget. This is enterprise fund that is from the FAA specifically for protection of our community.
Correct, absolutely. So the airport does not take any local tax dollars. We're an enterprise fund, and we typically actually leverage our grant programs through a local remitted tax that we charge per passenger. So to get further details into that, not only do you have a small local tax when you purchase that airline ticket that goes to this large pool of funds that goes nationwide for airports for replacing infrastructure, we also collect a $4.50 local remitted fee called a passenger facility charge that we then collect from the airlines. It's kept in the enterprise fund for the airport to augment those grants. So typically when the Federal Aviation Administration gives you a grant, you get 90% of the grant, and then you have to come up with the extra 10%. And we're very fortunate people flying out of the airport, we can collect that local $4.50 and then come up with the 10% difference. So again, we don't go to the local taxpayer here in the Valley and ask for those taxes, property taxes, to augment that 10%. That's the positive impact for the local airline being here and passengers utilizing the airline. It's full circle. The more passengers fly out, the more airlines are going to come, the more flights we're going to add, the additional opportunity for revenues are going to come in to help maintain that facilities and make sure we meet FAA safety standards throughout the board. So it's very important passengers and the community choose your local airport first before driving over past to Seattle or another airport in the neighborhood to start your actual vacation or business trip. So we're very fortunate to have them here.
Wonderful. Great information. We've touched a lot of stuff. Is there anything else that you would like to talk to? I'm sure we'll check in with you again as things progress. I want to thank you for all you do for our community too, also.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, it's great. We have a wonderful aviation community here at the airport, various different aircraft. Over 130 people are based here for the aircraft. Again, but I want to thank the community as well for supporting the airport. Again, the airline service is dedicated to the community, and the community is dedicated to the air service. And the more people fly out and use our small, convenient airport, which is very easy to get through TSA screening checkpoint, and then on to your destination, 25 minutes over the pass, you're connecting into SeaTac, and then you're on to your final destination, if that should be. So thank you, community, for the support. We couldn't do it without you.
All right. I think we've hit on lots of stuff. I will check back in with you later this year. Okay, Rob?
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you for everything, and thank you all for joining us.